Hi, this is Lee Sklar, and you are watching for Bass Players Only, which is the only thing to watch.
Hi everyone, John Liebman here. You're watching for BassPlayersOnly.com. We're coming to you today from the 2018 NAMM show at the Warwick booth with legendary bassist Leland Sklar. Hello, Lee.
Where?
Behind the beard.
Oh, okay. How are you, John?
I'm good. We did an interview at the Warwick Bass Camp, I think in 2015, in Markneukirchen, Germany.
Yeah, the unpronounceable city.
That's right.
Markneukirchen, or whatever.
Right. I've never said it the same way twice.
I know, I've never said it the same way once.
But that was, I think, back in 2015.
Yeah.
And that was a while ago in the first place, but there's far out big time news to discuss, always with you. So I'd like to find out what's keeping you busy and what's been going on since then.
Phil Collins came back out of retirement, and last year we ended up doing a really fabulous tour of the UK. We did a week in Cologne, Germany at the arena there, a week at Bercy in Paris. Came back, played Hyde Park, and Phil's doing great. We're getting ready in about, on the 12th, we head to Miami for a couple of days of rehearsal to put the show back together, and then head to Brazil and start South America for about a month.
Is he playing his big hits, or does he have some new stuff too?
It's a lot of hits, some Genesis thrown in there. The thing that I think is so exciting is his 16-year-old son Nicholas is our drummer now, and he's killing it. He's absolutely playing it like he's an old seasoned pro out there. And it's thrilling, you know. I mean, I've known him since he was born, and I can't imagine how exciting this is to Phil to kind of turn around on stage and look back and see your kid back there, being the freight train driving this show.
It's really great to hear.
It's really good, and the audiences are going crazy for it. It's really wonderful. Phil, he's gone through some physical things, so he's a little more frail than he was. So he's not playing drums.
We're all getting a little older.
Yeah,
except you.
Well, I started old, so I'm really not aging. If you start old, everybody goes, "Oh, you never changed. You're not the young stud who got old."
Were you born with that beard?
Well, the beard was born, and then I grew into it. It was one of those kind of hair bursts, you know. They just grabbed it and pulled it out. And,
Gotcha.
Not a good image for my mom, I don't think. But so we're doing that, and then I've been working for the past couple of years with Judith Owen, a Welsh singer who's married to Harry Shearer of Spinal Tap and The Simpsons, and she's a remarkable artist, and we're just finishing a new album of covers, and she does covers like nobody else. We did Black Hole Sun like Dave Brubeck's Take 5, we did Play That Funky Music, White Girl, and in like a New Orleans drag kind of thing, all kinds of stuff, and we're going to be on the road for the month of May. Danny Korchmar, Cooch. We just finished a solo album with him, with Waddy Wachtel playing guitar with Cooch, and Steve Postel and Jim Cox, myself, and Russ Kunkel. And I think we're going to be touring Japan in June with that.
Well, what about that? That's the makeup of The Section, right? And
that's an element. That's The Section minus Craig Durgee on keyboards.
Right.
But we're actually tomorrow night going to play as The Section. The Section's for the Tech Awards is being given a Hall of Fame award, and then they're giving Jackson Browne the Les Paul award.
Les Paul, yeah.
And so the Section's going to back Jackson on Running on Empty and another song, and that'd be the first time we played since '79 as his backup band.
Is Bob Glaub going to be there in the audience? Or?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I would love to see Bobby.
Yeah.
You know, we're really good friends, but this is like they're tying this together with the Section who did the records and stuff. Right. So everything's good, and then just studio work around that. I got a Chinese project to finish up next week, the week after next, and just did a Peruvian artist. We just cut a bunch of tracks for, you know, so just a moving target's harder to hit.
It's never boring, is it?
It gets boring, and then you figure out how to not be boring. And for me, not being boring means I can also just go out and spend the whole day weeding in the yard. You know, I just like to be occupied. I'm not good at leisure time.
I think you mentioned something in our very first interview, which is like 2009, 2010. You said they know me in the emergency room well because I like to putter with tools, and I think gardening was part of that.
In there getting stitches taken out or putting them in. And
Well, given what you do for a living, pardon me for asking, but is that wise?
no. It's not wise, but it's what I like to do. And in hindsight, I'm always really smart after I see the blood. I go, I shouldn't have done that. But then also, just to do a little promo stuff, we're sitting here in the Warwick booth.
Yes, you have a new bass, don't you?
Yeah, it's been a couple of years in development. I got involved with Warwick because of their Starbase too. I just fell in love with that, and that became kind of one of my dominant studio basses. And there were a few things about it, though, that I thought, if I could do one myself, I would change a little bit. Got together with Marcus Spangler, who's a genius, and we redid.
And a very fun guy, too.
Oh, yeah. No, he's a delightful maniac. But we modified the body shape a little bit. The electronics are basically a Starbase, too. But it was more of a body shape and comfort thing. And I love it. It records absolutely beautifully. I was just using it day before yesterday on 2 tracks on Judas record. I use it pretty much as my regular go-to bass when I need a 4-string. And I'm really proud of it. I'm using it on Phil Collins' tour, so it's getting a lot of attention live. And the sound engineer went nuts when he heard it.
In a good way.
Oh, in a great way. He loved it. It's absolutely a beautiful instrument, and still using GHS strings on it, and that's been my kind of go-to company now for, 40 years.
Battle Creek, Michigan.
Yeah.
Kellogg's cereal and GHS strings.
Absolutely. I always loved staying up there. There's a hotel that was made out of their grain silos. And so it's all these round rooms and round hallways. It's funny joint.
Interesting. Back to the Starbase for a minute. It's a very versatile instrument. And one thing that really struck me, I've interviewed, dozens of Warwick artists across all genres. So one of the interviews we did was with Rex Browne from the very heavy metal scene.
Yeah.
And he says, I played a Starbase, and I was taken aback. I said, I didn't peg you for a Starbase kind of guy. He says, oh man, it's great. I love it. And
no, it's an amazingly versatile bass. You look at it and you would tend to think it's a one-trick pony, but it really isn't. There's a lot you can do with that. And like for me, I carry blocks of foam with me, and when I want it to sound like a 62 P bass with flat wounds, I just put some foam in the strings and turn the treble down a little bit.
That's cheating, isn't it?
No, it's not cheating. It's doing your job. You do the tools are the tools. Whatever you need to do. I mean, sometimes the simplest thing is the smartest thing. Yeah, I don't need to drag 5 basses to a session. I can pretty much take 1 or 2 and do everything that's required of me.
You were doing a lot of fretless stuff too, weren't you?
I mean, I can do fretless, but I'm not known for that. I mean, if somebody wants me to play fretless, I have a fretless Starbase,
right,
and I'll bring that along. But that's not my go-to thing for the most part. But all my basses, I put mandolin frets on them, and you can really allude to fretless with that thin of a fret on it, especially when they dress down a little bit. So
I remember reading that about you. I'm glad you mentioned that. Yeah, that is an interesting concept.
Yeah, I've been doing that since '73 when we built my old Frankenstein bass.
Okay.
So.
And that still comes out of the closet pretty frequently?
Absolutely. That's still one of my, it's been like my right arm for, since, then, it's going on 50 years.
Wow.
So.
Other than the things that you mentioned, do you know what's in store for the future for you, or do you just wait for the contact?
You just wait. I mean, we got, right now my book is filled till the end of June. So, and then there's talk with Phil at the end of the year, and there's other talk. I've got a gig I do every year at the Library of Congress for ASCAP, and that's in the middle of May. So I have to take 2 days off from Judith in May to be in Washington to do that, and there's a chance I might go to the Music Messa in April. So, there's always crap going on, and when there isn't crap going on, I have really tons of ways to fill my time that have nothing to do with music, just working on my house and stuff like that. I enjoy that.
It just occurred to me, I saw a video of you years ago with Steve Bailey, who's walking by right now, and Victor Wooten. And Steve, do you remember doing a tour with Victor of Lee's house and him showing you his collections of
crap.
Everything? Come here, Steve Bailey.
Hi. Is that Lee Sklar?
What was the first clue?
That. A bird flew by and I knew it was Lee. Yes, I was at Lee's house once and we had the most. You should charge admission for people to come to your house. It's like it's somewhere between a museum and a cathedral and maybe a monastery.
I remember.
And a dog kennel. It's all wrapped.
I remember cereal boxes and vintage.
Oh, no, you have no idea.
From vintage wine to Shriners fezzes and everything in between.
I've been a flea marketer and scrounger since the late 60s. So I've collected anything you can imagine, from neon to German carved bear hall trees to Fiesta ware to audio animatronic games. And I mean, it's just like I've stopped kind of collecting because I ran out
But
of
they are
space.
world-class collections. This is not like I'm going to get 6 or 7 of these. When he goes in,
It's
he
deep.
goes all in, and it gets deep.
Yeah.
I came there the first time, it was around Christmas, and there were maybe 75 different Santa Clauses on your roof and everywhere else. I mean, and from all over the
Christmas is
world.
Still up at the house.
Yes.
Have not taken anything down yet. My Christmas tree's been up for 4 years. 3 o'clock.
Yeah.
3 o'clock in that little media.
3 o'clock.
I love this guy so much. In that special way, only one bass player can love another bass player.
Well, you're an interesting guy, Lee.
Well, it's when things get desperate, I become interesting.
But you know what? I want to mention something. You said your book is filled through June. You've been doing this for, over 40 years. You're very established. Everybody knows who you are. All the right people know who you are. Yet something always comes out almost like a paranoia kind of thing. You're afraid that they're going to stop calling you.
Absolutely.
Why do you feel that way?
Because I'm a musician. There's a musician thing like that where you always think, like, when you finish your last gig, you think, that's it. Nobody's ever going to call again, and then the phone rings. But I think it's a life of always we all struggle at this, trying to get work and recognition and it's a duality. Maybe that's because I'm a Gemini, but there's a part of me that knows there's going to be work coming up, but there's another part of me that goes, I hope I get work. But there's also, at this point in my life, there's a part of me that goes, it really doesn't matter because I'm old now. So I'm on Medicare and Social Security and my union pension and all that. So I don't have to hustle as hard as I did because I've already got my bills covered. So for me, I'm trying just to play for the joy of playing and not having to hustle work.
Gotcha.
And I think I think desperation has a stench about it. So when you're not hungry for work, all of a sudden you get more work than you can handle. When you really need the work, then nobody calls you because you're smelling too desperate.
What's your advice to anybody who wants to do? Is there room for more people to do what you do, and Abe Laboriel and Neil Stubbenhaus and
I when I've done some clinics, I'm not a big clinician, but I end up with these guys that go, man, I want to do what you did. How can I do that? And I tell them, I said, it's really easy. Look, you go out to the garage and you get your dad's tools and you build a time machine and set it for 40 years ago.
Well, what does that say about the future?
But how I temper that is the world right now is not the world I grew up in.
Right.
It's very different, but there are also new avenues of getting music out there that didn't exist then. In the old days, you had a record label who inevitably you were going to get ripped off by these guys, but they knew how to get you airplay and all that stuff. So it was a double-edged sword. Now you're really on your own. I mean, so many projects I do are self-funded, or they've got a backer that comes in, but there's other avenues through the internet where you can get your stuff out there, and if you're lucky enough to get attention. But I always look at the guys and girls in the audience, and I go, look, when the lottery's on TV, it's the Powerball, and they say, look, the odds of you winning are 150 million to 1. And the next day on TV, there's some guy standing with that big check. Somebody is going to make it in the room, and so you should not give up that dream. just the odds of you making it now are different than they were when I was younger, and everybody was getting signed and everything was getting airplay, and records actually meant an income, where now the records are not an income, but you've just got to go out and tour, basically play live. It's all flipped over.
Too bad you don't like the road, huh?
Oh man, I'm so lucky that I'm still an old road dog. I mean,
I've never known anybody to love the road as much as you do.
Well, I hate to travel. It's not that I'm not afraid of flying or anything, but the process of traveling has become so disgusting in terms of dealing with airports and TSA and your equipment. It used to be easy to get an instrument on a plane, and now they're hassling. You never know what's going to happen. Right. And then when you send it as luggage, even in a hard shell case, it may not show up at the other end, let alone broken. Yeah. So it's the process of going on the road. When I'm with Phil, it's great. I'm going in on Monday and I'm loading my road trunk, and they're shipping all the gear down, and everything is going to be handled and all that, and and so that's cool. But like when I'm out with Judith, what I always have them do is, instead of flying me business class, I say fly me coach and buy me 2 seats, and I have a seat for my bass, so I don't have to freak out and hassle over it.
I've done that before for my upright bass.
Yeah,
buy a seat for it.
Yeah, you really have to.
It's also a lot of fun.
Yeah, I mean, it's very little of this. The nuts and bolts of touring is fun, but to me, what I love the most is getting on a stage in front of an audience, and just looking at their faces and seeing people that may have had a real shit day, all of a sudden for a couple hours are having a respite from a rough time. And I've talked to people after shows, and they had just come to the show from chemo, and it really helped them not feel as sick as they normally would. I mean, it's amazing how people get touched,
The power of music.
It really is. It's probably one of the most powerful things there is. And also the fact that you can go anywhere on earth and play music, and it transcends language. So it's the universal language, and I really love that. I love playing for people all over the world, and you just, as soon as their head starts bobbing, you go, yeah, this is good. Yeah. This is really good. So I love it,
Well, we thank you for all you do, and not only as a great musician, a great bass player, but a very likable fellow, too. Do you remember the first time we ever met? It was at Bass Player Live 2010. Yeah. We had never met before, and we actually kissed.
I think it's important on the first date to kiss. Yes. And one other thing I can tell you
was as far as it went on the first date.
Well, we don't want to do that, but I love sewing, so if you need anybody to patch these pants for you, you let me know. And
thank you.
I'll make you up some good old hippie patches and put them on there. I used to wear jeans just like, that's what I was going to wear it in. I just thought, I should probably put these on. Make it look like I actually have a job.
Well, you look marvelous.
Thank you, honey.
Yes. All right, let's do this again and catch up. By the way, the last time we met, we were talking all about Billy Cobham, the Spectrum album. That's on there. Leland Sklar on ForBassPlayersOnly.com. Put it in the search thing. That interview will come up. The first interview, and, well, this interview. Later. Lee Sklar, thanks very much. Keep doing what you're doing, and I'd like to.
And I'll see you next year here, and we'll sit down. And I won't remember any of this, so I'll probably tell you the same stuff. That's the beauty of this age.
I'll just ask different questions.
Yeah, but I'll give you the same answers.
There you go. All right, on location at the Warwick booth at the 2018 NAMM show with Lee Sklar. I'm John Liebman. You're watching ForBassPlayersOnly.com.